want to do is you want to create that as sort of your golden profile, and you want to use that profile as the mechanism for validating the configuration of the other hosts that you're not quite sure of. So I'm going to call this my golden, or my golden, G-O-L-D-E-N profile, if I can spell you this morning. My golden profile. Click Next, click Finish. Okay, this is going to go through that process of actually creating that host profile. So in the background now, it's actually going through all the different possible configurations as it relates to vSphere and creating a profile out of that. Okay, after a minute or so, it's complete. And I've got this golden profile here. If I take a look at the summary here, it's version 5. The created time and last modified time is set up here. I've got a little bit of information over here on the right about my authentication information, some network information, things like that. And then now I can use this profile to actually take a look at, well, where are my other machines perhaps not compliant? So I want to take this profile and I want to attach this profile to a host or to a cluster to see if it is indeed compliant. Let's attach to the cluster. All right, so now I have ESX1, 2, and 3 and the cluster itself that have been attached to my profile. And before I go there, however, what I want to do is show you what the contents of this profile are. Okay, what are all the pieces that make up that profile? So when I actually go to measure the compliance with this profile, what am I actually checking against? Well, do I have any memory reservation configurations in here? Do I have the storage configuration across, for example, NFS? Here's my NFS storage configuration with this NFS data store. And are all of these settings equivalent? Is my iSCSI initiator configured correctly? Here's my independent and dependent hardware iSCSI adapters, or the software adapter, which is the one that I'm actually using. There's the identification, the initiator selections setting here. Now, you can see that this gets relatively, well, it gets relatively deep. There's all kinds of settings in here that I am verifying one versus the other. So when I actually go through and attach this profile to this host or cluster, well, it's going to verify the compliance of that host to the profile. Now, obviously, if I create the profile based off of esx1.company.pri, well, I should find myself relatively compliant to it. However, you'll notice here that if I actually check compliance, that there's a little bit of difference here. The iSCSI adapter IQN on the system for iSCSI adapter VMHBA33 does not match the one configured in the profile. So I know now that, well, I've got some sort of issue here with this profile as it relates to what the basic profile is. If I do the same thing and check the compliance against the other hosts, you'll see where other locations are that I may have created some problems. Oh, looky here. This is ESX3. So here are some interesting failures as it relates to ESX3 in comparison with 1 and 2. For example, I failed to turn on NTPD. The resource pool settings have changed. There are some expected user input parameters that are changing. So all of these are entries that I need to be aware of because they're different between the profile and what the host actually is. So with this information, I can then go and I identify, well, where have I made mistakes in my configuration? Identifying those mistakes is sort of just the first step in the process. The second step in the process is actually applying the changes that are necessary in order to bring myself back into compliance. So let's say I've got these non-compliant entries here, okay, and I need to bring them back into compliance. There are two things I can do. The first is an answer file. Now, the answer file kind of provides the input policy for how I would enter in information that's necessary in order to bring myself into compliance. You'll see this answer file includes information for the software iSCSI initiator selection configuration, and then also the IQN information and the alias information in here. If I want, I can then make modifications here to these values for what I want to apply, and click Update to actually update that answer file. The process to bring this host into compliance in an automated fashion is by ultimately applying my golden profile. Now, as you can imagine, you don't want to do this while the machine's running and its virtual machines are doing things. I don't want to go and change a configuration of